go.
Well.
I love that sound.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known worldwide as Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome to the show. It's show number 224, and today's show is the return of Dox and Plantation Rum.
Great.
And he's brought a guest, so we'll get to that in just a moment. Welcome to the program. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. Great T-shirts and hoodies and sweatshirts on the web for you if you're a cigar aficionado, whatever that means, or just if you know one, or have somebody in your family unit that would be recipient of a good guest. They're great shirts with snarky sayings for lovers of cigars, and they start at under $20, and they're pretty cool. So it's mycigarshirts.com because
cigars.
And our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll be talking about all of those things today. But we want to welcome Greg Doxakis from Plantation Rum and Maison Ferrand. Do I pronounce that anywhere close to right?
That was perfect.
Oh, okay, good.
I mean,
good.
no, I'm sure if there's an actual French person.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, sure.
If there's a French person, then I'm like, I don't understand you.
Yeah, and of course, and that would be appropriate. So, but Dox, welcome back to the show. You're, I will just go ahead and say it here. You are one of our absolute favorite guests. You're right up there. At least one rung above Alan Denny.
That guy.
But no, we love having you on the show. We've had you on a number of times, and it's always fun. The last time you were on, we were at your place and got to see your quite impressive collection of plantation rums.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. I think we posted a couple pictures of that.
Yeah, the plan didn't work. The plan was for Ian to distract you, and I would make off with several of them. But it didn't.
I forgot my ukulele.
It didn't quite work out the way we were hoping. So anyway, welcome to the show. Dox is here, and you brought along. Why don't you introduce your guest?
Yeah, well, I'm bringing a lot of cool new things here, but probably the newest thing we have here is Rebecca Chasson here. She's new part of that. She's our newest Faron, and she's going to be working here in Houston, but we call her Bex for short.
So it's Bex and Dox.
Yeah, well, I'd say Dox and Bex, but fine. She's new. We'll give it to her for this afternoon and let her have top billing this one time.
Exactly.
Yeah, alphabetically. Well, Bex, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are thrilled to have you here. Now, Dox, you mentioned she's working here in Houston. Yeah. You're not relocating, are you?
No. I cover 4 states.
Okay.
And actually one of the states is Tennessee, which, long story short, is like covering 4 states itself. So I'm spread pretty thin. And Bex is going to be concentrated right here in Houston. And we have a remarkable person for us working in Dallas also by the name of Pete. And someday I'll drag him down here and have him do the show also. But, we're growing brands, and it just requires more hands on the brands.
And your brand is one that we are never without at my house. We always have, at the very minimum, a bottle of the pineapple.
The Stiggins Fancy Pineapple. And that's the greatest compliment you could possibly ever give me, though. By the way. Yeah.
Really?
No, I mean, because you get so much spirits in your life, and let's face it, a lot of it free. But the fact that you're so big into ours, that's the biggest compliment I could possibly get.
And we always have a bottle of that, and we always have a bottle now of the Isle of Fiji.
Yeah.
I've tasted that once.
Yes, I remember that.
Once.
So for those of you who don't know the story, when Plantation released Isle of Fiji, I'm pretty sure it was you that made this happen, but a bottle arrived for Smokin' and Toastin' in a nice gift box at my house. And I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! We'll try this on the show." And so we opened it up, and my wife and I sampled it, and there was barely enough left to have on the show the following Thursday. So Ian has, I keep promising Ian I'm going to buy him a bottle, but it hasn't happened yet. So at some point, you'll get gifted.
Yeah, that bottle didn't make it very far.
No, it didn't. But
we got more. I'll make sure it happens. We got more.
We've been through a number. Usually, I'm great at sharing. It's just, we opened it up and had a little and had a little
share.
more.
You just didn't share it with me.
I just didn't share it with you. Well, I did. In fairness, I just only shared what was left.
Your wife is a wonderful and lovely person. I'm glad it was her.
Yeah, and she's very fond of both of those styles of rum. So those are kind of like our regular rums at the house, which is pretty awesome. So anyway, welcome back. I see you've got bottles of new things, and I'll mention, by the way, we tried one of yours without you on the show. We had that that guy Chris Hart on the show, if you remember, and he brought one that they had that you guys did in conjunction with the Houston Bourbon Society.
I have that one right now.
That one? Oh, that is a wonderful.
Well, okay, we don't have to try it again now.
Wonderful bottle.
You can leave that out.
Ian's looking at more plantation rum he doesn't get to drink. So.
Yeah, Chris has really good taste in spirits, obviously.
Yeah.
So he picked this one out. Yeah, and I know not to get too far ahead of us here, but I think it's a good demonstration of the two biggest pillars of plantation, and that would be Barbados and Jamaican rum.
Well, I love both of those styles so much, so it's awesome. And you guys really have rums from all over the rum region, don't you? You've got expressions from how many different locations?
I don't know.
Really?
I've lost count because I have over 60 bottles in my collection, and some of them are from the same country and region. But just to other than the our usual suspects of that being Barbados and Jamaica, and now the Fiji. Panama, Peru, Haiti, La Reunion Island. I'm trying to think here.
St. Lucia.
St. Lucia, thank you.
The St. Lucia is wonderful, by the way.
The St. Lucia vintage that we did a few years back was one of my all-time favorites. I have a few bottles stashed away in the vault, which I let out every now and then, just a little bit now and then.
Yeah.
But we actually, and I hope I'm not giving away too much here, we actually have something coming from Australia in the next year or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
An Australian
I'm
rum.
super excited to see that.
That is awesome.
In fact, I saw when I was trying to get some samples from France, and was put a pin in that because I'm going to complain a little bit more in a minute about the samples not making it on time.
Good.
I saw a little space for the Australian plantation. I'm like, well, don't mind if I do. Can I get a bottle of that? And our logistics captain, Sandra, she gave me the French, no. No, you cannot have. Not yet.
No
not
rum
yet.
for you.
No rum for you.
So I may have asked you this when we were at your place and did the show there, but with a 60-bottle collection of rum, do you have a go-to, or do you just mix it up all the time?
No, everybody asks me that all the time. I do not have a go-to. In fact, I've wasted many a drinking hour trying to decide which direction to go that
what
night.
your go-to
A little
would be.
analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
That's all right. At least it was a fun process, right? Yeah.
But I would say this, though. My go-to, as in I would say the one that I usually end up drinking before the night is over with, is usually the Stiggins Fancy Pineapple Rum.
That is just so good. And honestly, when I first heard about it, my wife came home from a bar someplace. She'd been out for girls' night, and the bartender had recommended it. And she tried it, and she came home telling me all about it. And I was like, I don't know, pineapple rum, but it's absolutely fantastic. And sometimes I forget because she has it all the time, and I'll go look through the bottles and find something maybe unusual. And every time I go back and pour a glass of that, I'm like, oh, this is why you drink this all the time. It's just really good.
Well, and I must say this is funny, and this happens with pretty much anything that I start making cocktails with in the evening. But I'll start off with like a nice Manhattan, or what we call the fluffy ruffles, like a pirate shirt. So that's Stiggins Fancy Manhattan, and it'll start off. I'll have like the perfect amount of rum, and I'll have the perfect amount of vermouth, and just a dash of bitters, and I'll stir it and strain it, and I'll get the nice twist of orange on there. And as the night goes, it's kind of like I put all the ingredients in the glass and swirl the ice around. And pretty much by the end of the evening, I just have the bottle there.
The top of the bar is wet and trashed.
Yeah,
the more rum I get into me, the less care there is in my cocktails, I will admit. But Bex here, it's such a delicate, fun, interesting rum, but she's found an entire new use for it here in the area with some of the bars. I'll let her talk about that.
Yeah, so my favorite way to have it is just keep it in the freezer or the cold box at the bars and
Really?
just pour it out straight as a shot.
So we drink it neat, but we don't usually chill it. Is it good chilled?
I highly recommend it chilled.
Okay, we're going to try that for sure.
And definitely keeping it in the freezer as opposed to shaking it because it's fantastic.
Yeah, you don't water it down.
Yeah,
It's dangerous, though. It goes down so easy.
It is an absolutely
Proceed
dangerous
with caution, and for God's sakes, please Uber when you're doing this.
It should be an interesting show. You have several things for us to try, including this one that, forget that I said we'd had it before. And we also will be tasting some interesting beers today. From Phase 3 Brewing Company in Lake Zurich, Illinois, we'll be trying their P3 Pils. From Adroit Theory Brewing, we've had their beers before. From Purcelville, Virginia, we'll be sampling their Abandon All Hope Hazy Imperial IPA.
I love the name of it.
These guys, everything they do is over the top, which is always
so
fun.
perfect for the general feeling going along these
Yeah,
days, right?
that's right. Abandoned. What is that when you're on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney and the sign says "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here"? Is that what it says?
I want to apologize to everyone. It says "Dead men tell no tales."
Oh, I know that sign
it doesn't
too.
say that. "Abandon all hope" was from Dante's Inferno.
Oh.
When you enter hell.
Does it not say that at Pirates of the Caribbean ride?
I'm
thought
going to
it
say
did.
no, but now you're second guessing myself.
You know Disney much better than I.
Okay,
so
Zany's watching. Zany, would you look this up, please? I don't think it does.
We also have
amazing-
OnStark and Wiki Brian watching.
One
today.
of them will. What's amazing is that you can actually look that up. But
Right.
Also on the beer menu today from Deschutes Brewing in Bend, Oregon. Their Abyss 2019 Reserve. It is an Imperial Stout. And when I put together the show notes, I didn't even bother to put the 18 different things that they've done to this particular stout, the way they aged it and where and when. And but it looks absolutely delicious. It's a big bomber bottle, so we'll be getting to that one as well. And Plantation Rums. We will do drinking news. My drinking news teaser headline for today. Ain't no party like an Amish party.
Love it already.
Because an Amish party don't stop. So we'll get to that, plus talk about some new cigars to watch for, and depending on how much time we have, all kinds of fun lists and things we can get into.
I do have a little special I put together as well.
Yeah,
well, actually, Adam put together.
So you mentioned having a story or something? For
I do
today's
have
show?
a little bit of a story. This is, everyone always asks. I'm in a brew club called CCSD, the Connoisseurs Club of Smoking and Drinking, and we have a meeting every Tuesday night.
It's one of those super secret clubs, right?
Well, we're kind of a drinking club with a brewing problem.
Okay, I love it.
More than anything. But we get together and we have competitions a lot of times. And sometimes we play darts, sometimes we play pool, sometimes you just have to wait to see this one.
Okay, so this is from a competition?
This is one of our games that we play on
Okay,
occasion.
I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. All of this plus, talking about some amazing rums. And are you all rum today, or did you bring anything other than rum today?
We brought something special that we'll share in a minute. I don't want to give it away. But it is very rare, very unique, and very, very, very special.
Yep. It's a tough job that Ian
What
and
the
I
hell
have
was
to do.
that? Are you shaving a haircut 2 bits? My special announcement here.
Well, you got to understand, here on Smoking and Toasting, when it comes to sound effects, we spare every expense. And so what we have is the little
the sound machine.
Sound machine box. And
Does it have the Ric Flair entrance to 2001 music? I think it's a little more appropriate.
This is pretty rudimentary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like this one though.
Yeah. We'll save that for drinking news. So, before we get there, Ian, I know it's been a very windy week. Have you been able to find some place where the wind wasn't too intense?
I did. I went by,
and smoked something good?
Went by Casa de Montecristo this morning and selected a cigar. I like going there and having I was in the lounge by myself today. There was no one else in the lounge back there, so
we will
a nice little.
We will, by the way, talk about this on the show today because Texas, as of yesterday, has been opened up as far as the restrictions for mask wearing and capacity on places. But what I'm reading and what I'm seeing is that most places are still being very careful,
They're
which
still
I think
requiring
is
you
which
to
I
wear
think
a
is
mask.
absolutely the way to go. I mean, if the governor wants to get together with a whole bunch of people in a crowded HEB, that's his business. But I don't think he should be encouraging other people to do that. That's just me.
No,
but
wear a mask, stand apart.
Yeah, wear a mask, stand
It's not
apart.
hard to do.
But you were the only guy in the lounge.
Yeah, I was the only guy in the lounge at that point, so that was all right.
That's social distancing.
I enjoyed it. I went in their humidor and selected a Warped Cigars Corto. Have you had this?
I don't believe I
It's
had a Corto.
really pretty cigar.
Warped is a very interesting brand, though.
Yeah, they are. They have some very different things going on, and this one is a very pretty cigar. I took a really nice picture of it before I lit it, and then I immediately accidentally trashed it. So the first picture you'll see is after it's lit.
Okay.
But it's a beautiful cigar. This is a Nicaraguan Pearl. This was a 4.5 by 46,
Okay.
called a Petite Corona, size-wise, with a Corojo wrapper. The appearance, medium brown, oily with some veins in it, single real classy band on it. Solid box press, nice firm feel.
Good looking cigar.
The pre-light sniff on this, earthy and chocolate right at the foot, especially hints of pepper and spices. The pre-light draw, I used a clip, had a medium draw to it. Classic tobacco flavor just right off the bat. A little bit of tea leaf, some cocoa powder was really nice in the background, and left a little spiciness on the lips. It was kind of nice. Corojo wrappers are good like that.
Yeah.
The initial light pops with pepper right off the bat, and wood, and something. The wood was something between oak and cedar. It didn't really have that defined a flavor, but very woody kind of flavor to it. Peppery retrohale on it, tangy tea leaf in the back of the palate. Slight underlying sweetness throughout there. The first third of this settles into a woody, peppery, earthy kind of snack. I don't know why. Yeah, snack. Snack.
You've never used the word snack before when you were doing your tasting notes. I like that.
Try to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
With hints of cocoa and a slightly sweet background. Spicy retrohale carried a hint of nuttiness. Solid ash, great burn on it. The second third of this, pepper and spices remain as the predominant flavors. The strong earth, tea leaf, and cocoa powder rounding out the palate. Retrohale less spicy with a little more sweet cocoa and wood. Slight nuttiness kind of creeps in to add a note of interest to the overall cigar. Solid ash, great burn. The last third of this cigar, pepper backs off just a bit, leaves a touch of graham cracker kind of in its wake. Complex flavors that I was tasting in here are mint, earth, leather, wood, nuts, tangy tea leaf, with a very distinct cedar aftertaste at this point. The burn became a bit uneven, and I thought I was going to have to tend it. I never touched it, actually. It just corrected itself moments later.
Good.
And it was a pretty substantial uneven burn for just a second.
And then it self-corrected.
Yeah. Solid ash, great burn overall. This is an $8.55 cigar. I gave it a solid 6 because I liked the whole flavor profile on it. It did so many good things. The burn was great all the way through. Even with the uneven burn, it corrected itself. It was fine. It's great.
So just in case people are not familiar with how we use our price to quality index here, if anybody has not heard us do that before, a 6 is a great rating because a 5 means you got everything that you paid for. And so anything above a 5 is spectacular. You can smoke a great cigar, but if it was super expensive and didn't quite live up to the price, it might have a rating below a 5. So anything that gets above a 5 is
I want to point out
highly
this
recommended.
was a 4.5 by 46, not a very big cigar, but it did smoke for a solid hour.
So is it an uneven burn? That's indicative of just not a loose roll?
Could be loose in
It can
spots.
be a lot of
things,
things,
it can be loose in spots. A lot of times it's the wrapper that causes the uneven burn. That maybe the wrapper's got like some heavy veins in it, and those don't burn the same as the rest of the leaf, and it causes it to burn a little unevenly.
Right.
But it just depends. It can be a lot of different things. Sometimes if they're packed too tight, it can burn unevenly too.
But yeah, you can get runs and all kinds of things like that. A slightly uneven burn is not even a cause for issue. I had the run, I took a picture of it in there, but the run was a little bit kind of big actually for what it was, but correcting itself like that was really nice. Usually you just have to tend it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't mind doing a little tending. It's just if it becomes like a thing, you have to tend the whole thing, then it kind of lessens the experience, I think.
One should always tend to your ash.
I think that's
Yes.
important. I think
I
that's
didn't
important.
let it fall on myself today.
I think
As you
that's
can tell, I don't have
important.
any ash spots on my shirt.
Yeah, no, you're looking good. Nice
bad.
and very, very nicely attired
It's
today.
still young in the day for a white shirt.
I think I will mention that when we were confirming Docs and Bex being on the show, he said something about for us to like wear our best stuff because he was coming on. So
I said, tell the boys to shower up and wear something nice.
yeah, so I went with
I was supposed to shower?
I went with the MyCigarShirts.com.
I don't know, it's that kind of party.
All right, I'll tell you. I'll go over what I smoked this week in our next segment, and I want to get the tasting started because, quite frankly, we've got some very, very attractive looking bottles here.
So, FYI, Bruce Stark, abandon hope, all ye who enter here, is the supposed inscription on the entrance to hell.
Right.
And it's the first found in Dante's Divine Comedy.
Okay. So no mention of it at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, huh?
Not to my knowledge. Not this time, Senator. I cannot confirm that. No.
Well, if anyone would know, it'd be this guy. This guy knows more about the whole Disney experience than anybody that I think I know personally. Is it? What do you call it? Are you Disney-phile? What's the right word for a fan of the whole
Some
Disney
people
thing?
say sick in the head. No, we're into it. That's all I can tell you. It's a thing for us.
And have you been since pandemic? Have you been to any of the Disney parks?
I can neither confirm nor deny that at this moment, Senator.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So we'll get to more cigar stuff. We'll get to some rum and whatever the surprise is that Dox has tucked away in his goodies. So we'll get to all of that coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 224. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. The sound of the suffers. Awesome. They are so good. Welcome back. It is show number 224. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Available on the web because cigars. Bruce Stark checked in and said, hey, nice hoodie, Cruze. I have a friend that has one of those. Well, that's awesome. I think Bruce may be the friend. I think he got some stuff for himself, and I think he bought a hoodie for a friend. Actually. Oh, that's very cool.
So I think he's
Such
going
a cool
above
thing.
and
That is a nice hoodie. The material is nice.
Yeah, it's one of those that's light but surprisingly warm, which is a good thing when it comes to hoodies, unless the studio heats up too much. So anyway, welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are glad to be here talking about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Our new guest today is Bex. Tell me, because I've, somewhere in my career path, I clearly made a wrong turn and I got into radio. How does one get a job as a representative for Plantation Rum? What do you even you show up and tell them?
What is the career path?
I would be good at this because.
Well, my specific career path to this was I started in the bar industry, bartending, went to Republic as a distributor rep.
Okay.
And then one of my suppliers happened to be Dox, and we just got along really, really well. And when it came time for him to look for someone for Houston, I jumped at the opportunity and interviewed. And but if anyone ever wants to work for a liquor supplier, I highly recommend building those relationships with current suppliers or trying to get into the distributor industry, because that's a great path to meet pretty much everybody.
I know that obviously there are, regulations about what you can and can't be asked at a job interview, but I'm just curious, was there any drinking at the interview?
There was not.
Oh.
I was a little surprised, but there was
I think
not.
I'd have been a little disappointed.
My interviews are more like game shows. You know
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean? People love interviewing with me because they come in all like, what did you just ask me?
Spin the wheel and see which rum you land on. Well, welcome. I think you'll enjoy this. How long have you been at this position now? You just started?
Yes, like 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Unofficially, probably. She was doing some store tastings for us last year, just kind of on the side there. But her counterpart in Dallas also came from RNDC. So we've had a lot of time to work together and get to know each other, and I knew they were the kind of people that I could count on. So.
How long do you think it'll be before store tastings come back?
They're back.
They are back.
They're back,
Okay,
but
good.
just very minimalized.
Yeah,
and
I
very
really
spaced.
miss those because I go to the big specs down in Midtown, and man, if you go in there on like a Friday or a Saturday, it's like, woo,
She's
you're
a
starting to party already.
She's a rock star there, man. She walks into that place, and I thought, here I am, Mr. Regional Manager. But I said, hey, Bex, well, who's that guy?
We kind of did the same thing when you showed up here. But yeah, no, those tastings are fun, and I would imagine that that's probably one of the best ways to get not just a customer and sell a bottle, but to pick up a new fan, like somebody that is going to continue to buy your product.
There's a big difference too when you're actually someone working for the company, standing there talking about your product,
as opposed to a spokesmodel.
I always get annoyed when I walk up and try something. Hey, do you want to try something? Sure, tell me about it. Well, I don't know. They just hire me to pour.
They just hire me to pour this.
Like, there's no it's nice when you have a representative of the company that's knowledgeable about it, tell you about it.
Yeah,
tell you the
it's
story.
It's an important thing, and I'm like you. I ask questions. What kind of hops are in this beer? If they don't know, it's like, okay, well, it tastes good. I mean, you don't have you want the story. You know what I'm saying? You want the story.
So I enjoy doing store tastings, and just unfortunately I don't get that much time to do them anymore. But when I do get to do them, and like let's say it's like a busy weekend or a holiday weekend where they got a ton of people in there, there'll like be someone next to me like pitching their product, and it'll be something that I'm familiar with, a category or a brand, and I'll hear them like totally do it. I'm like, oh, that's not right here. You want to say this? And they're like, oh, so they'll read, and this is like 3 times still back. And they're like, wow.
He's the guy that like, Docs, we love having you doing the store tastings, but you tell them so much about the rum. You only had 5 people the whole day.
It was great rum, but he just wouldn't shut up.
The line was long.
I bought it just to get out of there.
The line was long, but nobody gets a sample. Well, let me tell you about my cigar this week, Ian. I decided to go big, and I bought a Montecristo Epic Premium Selection 07.
Oh.
So it is a I guess a highly touted cigar. Mm-hmm. I'll get to that in a moment. But I wanted to first mention that it had maybe the best pre-light sniff and draw that I've ever experienced. It was one of the. It smelled so good. I was actually almost drooling with anticipation
before you even
to
lit
smoke this cigar. Chocolate, earth, leather. It's exactly what you want an unlit cigar to smell like. And it was just like, I was just like, oh, I couldn't wait. I actually had taken it out of the wrapper when the cellophane wrapper, when I put it in the humidor. And I was like, oh, I can't wait for this. So my expectations were high. And then I also looked at the press release that they put out when they released this cigar. And I want to share a little of that press release. They say that they are proud to announce a new launch, and this is from several years ago. It came out in 2012, I think, actually, even though it's the 07. I don't get that. But anyway, they said they're proud to announce the Montecristo Epic Premium Selection 07, perhaps the best Montecristo ever.
Oh.
That's what it says in the press release, yeah. So special, so unique, so select, it's epic. Montecristo Epic. And then they go on to say that the task of creating the Montecristo Epic was assigned to a special team of our most skilled and accomplished cigar makers, the Grupo de Maestros, artisans with centuries of combined experience. It is a true handmade luxury masterpiece of complexity and full-bodied smoking pleasure made of the finest aged tobaccos, vintage 2007. And they even go on to talk about the process and hand inspected and a certificate of authenticity in every box and all this stuff.
Well, I guess there's something to live up to there, right?
Right. So then I look at the cigar itself, and I got to tell you, pretty rustic.
Yeah.
And rustic is
I see that in the picture, yeah.
kind of a code word in cigar language for not real smooth, kind of veiny.
Lumpy and bumpy.
Looks
and
a little lumpy and bumpy, yeah. Even parts of the leaf looked a little loose, but it was nice and oily, and I loved the pre-light vibe on it. So the Epic uses an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, a Nicaraguan binder, and filler from Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic. So I used a punch and a torch lighter, and I was off to the races. Initial flavors, a nice woodsy note, some pepper and vanilla on the retrohale. Nice. The wood note kind of settled into a more identifiable cedar, and it developed a nutty character about an inch or so in. Second, third added a little salty note, which I really liked. It just gave the whole thing some good savory vibe to it. There were also hints of dried fruit, plenty of vanilla still. The last third of the cigar brought in some of the leather and earth that I'd gotten on the pre-light on the cold draw before I lit it up. I did not find it to be full-bodied. To me, it was medium all the way through, but I like medium-bodied cigars. Decent flavor profile, although I'm going to be honest with you. If it gave me what the pre-light kind of promised, I'd have stopped and bought a box on my way in.
So it fell a little short of the pre-light.
So it fell a little short of the pre-light, which is that's unusual because usually the pre-light's fine, it's a little tobacco-y or whatever, and then you light it up and then it really gets interesting. This was almost the opposite. It didn't quite live up to the pre-light. But let's talk construction. I had to touch it up constantly. It burned crooked the whole way through, and I'm just not used to that with Montecristo. I mean, I'm really not. In my experience, they're usually almost perfect in burn and construction, kind of like a Fuente. Mm-hmm. You're always surprised if you have any construction issues.
Even down to their lowest price.
Or a Montecristo. Yeah, absolutely. The ash did hang on for quite a while, except when I had to bump it off to relight about an inch in because the cigar went out.
About an inch in?
Yeah, about an inch in. And I had to bump the ash off to relight the cigar. The construction kept the cigar from being great. And that is such a bummer. I think it's possible that maybe the press release set my expectations a little high.
I can understand
They're talking about
why.
it being the greatest Montecristo ever. I've had some amazing Montecristo cigars. Then again, the price set my expectations high. $16.
Yeah, that should set your expectations.
So I enjoyed the cigar, and I would try another one just in case this was a one-off issue. But at $16 to $17, it did not live up to the hype. And so price to quality for me would be a 4. The flavors were good. The ash held on. But, I mean, you can see from the picture. I mean, look at that picture now. That's how crooked. That's not
scattered. That's not
good construction. That's not your best rollers, the Grupo de Maestro. So I'm wondering if it's one of these things. It came out in 2012. I'm wondering if it's one of these things where they've moved those rollers on to other projects. And, some of the newbies maybe are rolling these now.
So
I don't know.
Epic might be epic fail.
Yeah, epic fail. I was disappointed. Again,
Sorry to hear that, man.
I enjoyed the cigar, but this is like 2 weeks in a row where I smoked a fairly expensive cigar that did not live up to the
you
price.
built me up. I wanted one until you gave me the smackdown on that.
I was so excited at the pre-light. I was just like, this is the best smelling cigar I've ever, but maybe that's what set the
That
expectations
label's kind of
too
a
high.
deviation from the usual Montecristo look.
It
isn't
is. It is a little bit different. Yes.
Because it's got that brown and yellow, which kind of is like Denny's uniforms colors, but it looks good on the wrapper.
Alan Denny or Denny's the restaurant? Speaking of,
Talking about when you have dinner over at Alan Denny's house or breakfast.
yeah. Speaking of Alan Denny, he checked in and said, "Great guests and at least one great host." So I guess we'll.
Well, we should lock the door because there's a good chance that he may show up in a second now, right?
It's possible.
Alan is the pod crasher.
He's inspired me. I've almost done it a couple times myself. Like, nah, I don't like that guy.
We love him. He's
yeah, good dude.
He's the best. All right, so Docs, where do we start on?
Well, you know what? We mentioned that Christopher Hart talked about this, so let's go ahead and jump right into this one and not get it out of the way. But
I was going to say, if this is the rum that I had, there is no getting it out of the way. It speaks for itself.
So as I said before, this really is the two pillars of main pillars of Plantation, in the sense that these two distilleries are two in the Ferron family, and so it's going to be Barbados rum made at our West Indies rum distillery, and Jamaican rum made at our Long Pond facility in Jamaica. And if you remember, we have two there. One is Long Pond and the other one is Clarendon. Now, in full transparency, which we always like to be, we do have partners in Jamaican distilleries, and that would be NRJ, which is National Rum of Jamaica, also known as the Jamaican government, and also Demerara Distillers.
Okay.
So, but as I said, this is the two expressions that are the most plantation-y of all plantations, and we've married them together for like the first time by themselves. In a single cask, to my knowledge. I don't think we've ever done this before. So it says 9 years on the label, but it's actually going to have some older rums in there, but that's the minimum combined age.
It's at least 9 years.
Exactly. 4.5 years in the tropical aging is what we call aging in the bourbon barrels in Barbados. 3.5 years in the Ferron cask, and it's going to spend an extra, I think, 6 months in acacia casks. Ooh. Now, acacia is a variety of wood that originates out of Asia, and parts of Australia also, I believe. But we were using acacia for our. Do you remember our Citadel Reserve? The one that was aged in six different kinds of casks.
Yes,
that's one of those
Hard
casks.
to forget.
Right, but I don't think that this is actually gin casks. I think this was acacia wood that we had left over, and possibly maybe for some future Ferron projects. If I'm not giving anything away there, but I don't believe there's any gin at any time aged in these barrels. So I spent that last 6 months finishing off inside the acacia cask, and the Jamaican component was 7.5 years in the bourbon barrels in Long Pond.
Now, where did Chris Hart enter into all of this? Because he tried to make out like this was his creation. I mean, he didn't really, but I'm just giving him a hard time. But Chris Hardy is our friend, our
his
whiskey
story,
expert.
he was standing there at the still himself.
Yes,
right?
that's right. He's
No, he
the
did.
one that fired up the still, I
He
believe.
did. He crushed all the sugarcane by hand.
Yes.
And actually, I don't think he by hand. I think he just willed it to be crushed.
Yeah, well, he's a whiskey expert, so I would imagine that his expertise could extend. But no, you guys did this this release at least in conjunction with Houston Bourbon Society.
It was their selection. It was his pick. Yeah,
Okay.
it was the one that I think we did a Jamaican for them a couple of years ago with the Teeling finish that was just absolutely beautiful. And so Chris knows his group and he knows what's going to appeal to them, and this is the one that really stuck out the most. And I think you get so many of the nice aspects. I'm like right on the nose. I'm getting the fruity vibrancy of the Barbados.
Yeah, it is very fruity. This
And
one.
it's lush fruit. And Jamaican's got some fruitiness too, but it's more of a different, I don't know, I don't want to say stewed fruit, but just it's a different kind of fruit to it.
Well, I always use, and it's probably not the right word, but I always use the word funk when talking about Jamaican rum because it's
No,
just
that's
got
right.
that certain funkiness to it, and it's not a bad thing, but it's this kind of rubbery funk. But you can use it. You can use that. Sometimes that gives away that you're dealing with a Jamaican rum, at least in my experience.
For sure.
This is interesting. It has almost a toffee
It does.
aftertaste
Uh-huh.
to it that I find incredibly interesting and contrasting in the brightness of the fruit that I get up front.
Right, you get the fruit up front, and then in the finish, it is very much like a toffee flavor.
Super creamy mouthfeel, just right on that first initial on the tongue, and then it just dries up and almost, I don't want to say astringent, but it just dries up, and you get that sort of numbness right down the middle of the tongue.
Absolutely. It dries up like a good dry wine does on the palate. This is really a spectacular rum. I don't know how you top something like that. I'm sure you can, but it's awesome.
Look at the grin he got. He's
Challenge
like, "Oh, I
accepted.
Now, what is that bottle retail for?
In the $65 range, and right now you can only find it. Yeah, it's exclusive to the Houston because of the Houston Bourbon Society, and you can only find it at 3 locations. You can find it at Flax Liquor in Clear Lake, Rice Liquor right down the road there in Bel Air, and Ricky's Liquor up there in Spring.
In Spring, okay.
Yeah, and it was limited to 23 6-packs for the entire region, and then when it's done, it's done.
So this is basically one barrel, right?
It's a portion. No, it's okay. First off, we don't get the whole barrel. They're going to send some to New York, and they're going to send some to L.A.
Okay,
that sort of thing. But it is limited to the regions, and also sometimes I lament the fact that we use the term single cask because there's 3 different casks used in the production of this rum, not like most of our single casks. But the single cask as a reference is we did 1 cask's worth.
Right.
Okay, got it. It makes
So
sense.
we don't get the whole cask.
So if you want to get some of this, you should move quickly because it's not going to be around very long.
That is
And
correct.
if you're outside of the Houston area, call somebody in Houston.
Yeah, that's right.
Hard cheese.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Well, it really is spectacular.
Can I get DoorDash to pick this up?
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? It really is spectacular, though, and it's got. What's the proof on this? Do you know?
Just like one kind of.
The one thing.
Let me check my notes. Please stand by. All right, the proof on this one is going to be 106 proof.
Okay, so with a bit higher proof, I find often that the really higher proof rums, sometimes you get that wonderful bite, but they're a little shorter on flavor than some
It's
of the
more
lower proof
mouthfeel
rums.
than flavor. I agree with you 100%.
And this one does not sacrifice that at all.
No, in fact, I think it's a delightfully drinkable rum for being over 100 proof. And I'm not a big overproof person as far as single casks and whiskeys and even our rums that go. And we had one, that Barbados 6 year, which was exclusive to Texas. You couldn't get it anyplace else. I took this one, no one was looking, and Bonbonnet. I got in trouble for it, but I ain't looking back. It was a Barbados rum. I think it was 16 years old. That was triple aged in Bordeaux cognac cask, and it was a Barbados 2007, and it couldn't have been. No, I'm 13 years old. Thank you. Doing the math there. But it was 117 proof, and it was a tremendous spirit, but it was a real heady spirit. I mean, it was a mouthful. And it wasn't my particular favorite, but, so many of our bourbon society and those kind of drinkers, they love the high proof things like the George T. Stags and that sort of thing, so that was really appealing to them. A beautiful rum, but a bit much for my taste.
This to me kind of straddles that line perfectly.
Yep.
Lets you do something that's a little bit higher proof, but it isn't just like a whiskey rum, which is what I call some of those. You know what I'm saying? And I enjoy those when I'm in that when I'm in that mode. But to me, this just balances it all out.
I just call it
perfectly.
one, but that's usually only after I've had too
After
much.
you've had several. I don't know how this is going to marry with a Pilsner, but it'll be interesting to see. This Pilsner is the P3 Pils from Phase 3 Brewing Company, which is, I guess, where the P3 came from. And they are out of Lake Zurich, Illinois. I didn't know there was
You
a
can
Lake
taste it
Lake
by the
Zurich,
second
Illinois.
by the second sip.
By the second sip?
Yes, the first sip actually you get a lot of the malt profile right down the middle. It's really
you sure
interesting.
do. And so what do you
The
taste in the second sip?
you get that hop snap and a little citrusy finish on it. It's really interesting.
It is a bit citrusy. It's a, I think, more citrusy than I'm used to for a Pilsner.
This is good.
Yeah, it actually really is. Does it tell us anything special about it on the can?
It says, according to the Surgeon General, women should not. Okay, there's really not that much information on this can. So it really just has 4.7 by volume, American style Pilsner lager, and then
It's always-
what does it say? Handcrafted beer, quality ingredients by honest people.
It's always interesting to me the difference between some breweries will put tons of information on the can. Some of them even offer like cheese and food and cigar pairings
Yes.
on the can.
Or if
And
you're
then-
Eureka Heights, you always have like a corny joke on there. or
right,
something.
which is always fun. Yeah, which is always fun. But in this case, this is one of those where I guess less is more.
So it
To look
says-
at the package and also to actually look at the color of the liquid, it screams cider. I was, my mind was psyched up for like a sweet pear or apple cider,
And that's not what it is at all.
and it threw me off. But
Yeah.
it is a delicious Pilsner, and you're right. It is more citrusy than one would expect.
You know, speaking of other kinds of beverages, Docs, last week on the show we did the Great Hard Seltzer blind taste test.
It's like that drunk girl on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her.
That's what I felt like.
It was pretty interesting. I think Ian twice in two of the groups picked the Bud Light Seltzer as his favorite, which just goes to show you what we know.
Yeah, I'm not even ashamed by it, just because like it's seltzer.
It was interesting. We had Jessica Kearns was here with us doing the blind taste test, and she and I seemed to like agree on most everything.
Twice you guys
and
had
Ian
the
was,
exact same list.
and Ian was totally contrarian. Yeah, he was always picking different ones. So that's I guess what makes the show fun. But I think we all agree on
you
this.
know what I decided at the end of that? I like beer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
You like flavor.
I do.
Yeah.
You like
There,
flavor.
there we go. There we
Yeah,
go.
and a lot of them have a lot of that kind of artificial
Artificial sweetener,
sweetener
vibe
flavor
to
that
them.
I just don't like that at all.
Yeah, that doesn't
This
that
beer
doesn't
does
appeal
not,
to
though.
me.
It's delicious.
I was going to say we do agree on the beer though. This is
There's a
some
little
good stuff.
sweetness right before the citrus on the end that I'm really digging.
Yeah, it's really good. So here's what I find really interesting is that we've had a number of Pilsners and lagers on the show over the last couple of months that have just really been outstanding.
Super good,
And
yeah.
you're really, I think, seeing craft brewers right now really investing a lot of time and energy on coming up with excellent, really craft quality lagers.
Pilsners, yeah, Pilsners, lagers. Pilsner's a style of lager, but more drinkable, sessionable beers that aren't just IPAs.
But also
which makes
full
me
of
happy.
flavor, which if you're coming out of mainstream beer land, you don't expect as much flavor as this has got kind of tucked into it when you go with the lager.
I can't help but think if I was a Budweiser drinker and I tasted this beer, it would just open my eyes.
Was it Michelob that used to use the slogan, the champagne of beers?
No, Miller Lite.
That was
Was it Miller?
Miller High
no,
Life.
no,
Miller
no,
High Life.
Life.
that
Okay.
was Miller High Life. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in any case, that's kind of what this reminds me of. It's just kind of a little more refined.
A proper bar will serve you a Miller High Life with the towel over it and the little bucket and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
That's
the champagne of beer.
the champagne of beer.
That would almost just make.
They
me laugh.
released. I just remember a couple of years ago for New Year's Eve, they released a champagne bottle version of it. Yeah, that's smart.
I wonder if anybody bought it.
You know what's amazing about all those macro brews?
Yeah.
Everything we're talking about here, they're selling the bottle. They sell the packaging.
Oh,
they don't
totally.
even bother selling the liquid.
Totally.
None of them.
I was reading
Vortex bottles.
I was reading a
cold-activated
novel
cans.
the other day, and the characters were all grabbing beer, and one says to the other in the novel, "Don't drink it unless the mountains are blue." I'm like, seriously? this has become a part of
the beer
literature?
sensors. Like, I was born with 2 beer sensors right here.
Yeah.
Yep, it's cold.
I would
Well,
never
that's
have
nice,
known.
though. That's an early warning system.
Yeah.
You see?
That maybe this book ain't going to be that good. And I think that's perhaps what
Well, I was
the
talking
warning
about the
is.
can itself.
okay,
like
gotcha.
it's because as much as I don't really dig the mountains with the blue.
Yeah.
That's Bush? No.
Oh, no,
that's,
it's Coors.
Coors,
Coors,
precisely.
that's right. Yeah. As much as I don't really dig that cold, man, if those mountains aren't blue, it ain't gonna be good at all.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right.
buddy.
You do want, but I just love that they've been able to take mood ring technology and adapt it to beer cans.
Technology.
That's,
I love that.
We can make it bigger, faster, stronger. The beer? No. The can.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. There's more tasting, including what's next on the rum list, Docs?
More rum. No, well, we're gonna.
I'm happy.
We'll go to Jamaica next. We'll go straight to
Awesome.
Jamaica.
We'll do that next. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for coming along for the return of Docs and Plantation Rum.
And back.
And Bex. It's not a return, technically. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. By the way, we got a We Heart Bex on the commentary there. If you were watching us on Facebook Live, there's always a lively and interesting commentary going on during the show, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Smoking and Toasting is the show that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are heard basically around the world, but we originate from Houston, Texas, and we're available on all the podcast platforms and on Spotify and Apple and all the places where you might get your podcasts. But we do the show live on Facebook Live at 1 o'clock Central every Thursday. So if you want to follow along and enjoy the show live, that's where to find us. And you can also get the show on YouTube too. If you're on Facebook Live, you do get all the stuff we're not supposed to talk about in between the segments, which can also
Sometimes we slip.
which can also be kind of fun.
That's where most of the curse words are too.
So we have Bex and Docs from Plantation Rums and Maison Ferrand, and we are sampling now Jamaica. Is that right?
Jamaica, 1996, all from Long Pond.
Okay.
Now this one is going to be just shy of 100 proof. It's like 99.5 proof, I believe, 99.2 proof. And this one is going to be triple aged in New York distilling bourbon casks.
I can smell the funky rubberiness.
Yes,
right
yes.
off the
Oh,
top.
I love that too. Is this a limited? Because I know like the last one was limited, only available in certain areas. Is this one?
Extremely limited and available only at Specs.
Okay. So I think I've seen this on the shelf at Specs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but he's the voice of Specs. If when you're walking through and you hear those dulcet tones, it's this man right here.
Yeah. I'm the one that says, "Put that bottle down. You can't afford it."
That's amazing.
You've never said that.
Speaking of,
Actually, what I
You've
usually
never
say
said
is,
that to yourself either.
well, actually, what I usually say is, "Go ahead, live a little, try it out."
the world may end
There's
tomorrow.
been a couple times where I've chatted with someone at Specs, especially the little baby Specs there on Memorial, because it's on the way home. And I remember standing there talking to a guy one time, and he's like, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I was telling him about the podcast, and he goes, "Oh." I said, "Me and my partner are on the podcast." He goes, "Well, who's that?" Right as your voice comes on, I said, "Actually, it's this guy." And you can see the guy go, "Okay." And just kind of walks on.
that guy.
like it's some grand honor to be the guy going, "Hey, don't forget to talk to our wine specialist." You know.
It
Well, I mean,
is-
you
it is
are
a grand
over
honor.
you are over the speakers quite often, so I imagine you're the voice that they hear in their head after they go home.
Well, that's a little disturbing, actually. That's a little disturbing. I remember there was, a long time ago, there was this show on television. I think Gary Cole, you know who the actor Gary Cole is? He's in Office Space and a couple of things. He played this overnight talk show DJ in San Francisco. And so if you were up after midnight, he was the guy that you could tune into his show, and he would take callers and whatever. But one of the funny things about the plot of the show, and I think it only lasted one season, I watched it because it was a show about a radio guy, is he would go to the grocery store during the day, and when he'd go, can I have the receipt or whatever, people would look at him and go, hey, you're that guy
You're
from
that
the
guy.
radio. I mean, look, I've worked the overnight shift. Trust me, no one says,
knows that
hey,
you're that guy.
you're the guy from the radio. So, anyway, I don't know why I even told that
You know,
story.
late at night, it was always George Norrie for me.
Oh, yeah.
Coast
okay.
to coast.
Okay, yeah.
Which one's George Norrie?
He was the coast to coast. You know, the weird, like, they always talked
No,
about.
but he was a successor. The original one was
I
a
can't
different
think
name.
of his name.
Oh, yeah. See, that's...
Welcome to the land of Nye, the creepy dude. Yeah.
And if you're on the west, if you're west of the Rockies, call this number.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So-
can't think of his name.
Art Shell.
Art
Isn't he-
Bell.
Art Bell.
Art Bell, that's right.
He's
It
the
was Art
UFO
Bell.
guy.
Yes.
He's always got good
Yeah.
stories about UFOs. Maybe he'll enjoy drinking news if he's listening today.
Well, you know, I'd get off of gigs and I'd be driving home,
Yeah.
you know, at
Yeah, you
3 in the morning.
gotta
What
be
do you
something.
listen to? Well,
I know.
coast to coast.
I used to get in the car like late at night, headed home, and I would listen to the two guys that talk about the fishing conditions in Galveston Bay. Have you heard those guys?
You don't wake up to that. You go to sleep to that.
Yeah,
man.
well, yeah. I was headed home to go to sleep. So, Captain something or other. Anyway, we have rum to taste from Jamaica.
I totally forgot about that. We
Ian,
were
have
talking
you-
about rum, weren't we?
I've been doing my research here.
Talk to me while I do
It's,
some.
it's
So-
actually one of the creamier, smoothier
Smoothier.
wums.
Smoothier.
Smoothie. There's bananas. and
Smoothier
there's,
wums. It's
protein powder
it's
in there.
incredibly smooth and like has kind of a creaminess to it, but then it has this little rubbery kind of bite that I absolutely love.
it
It's funky.
really is good. Yeah.
We don't like to use the S word when describing our spirits, and that'd be smooth.
Right,
Because
right.
smooth usually means flavorless. It's
right.
softer.
It's
softer.
It's silky. It has a
Silky.
silkiness to
I got
it.
it. Don't say smooth. Just say smooth.
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 Yeah, smooth. Like smooth. Like Barry White, smooth. That's
That's
a good
rum.
thing.
I don't know why I know this is like just three old guys just running their mouths. There was an episode of MASH where Colonel Pardo got like some brain goes, not enough O's in the word smooth to describe that brandy. So
Well, this is soft.
it is, and it's very approachable, but it is very much so Jamaican. The
It really
the
is.
esters are there. It's a 280 count, I believe. 280 count on the esters, so that funk is there. And this is all Long Pond and the double retort still. It is unmistakably Jamaican, but it's not so Jamaican to the point where you have to be one of those dunderheads to really dig it.
Right.
It's not super high estery to where you just have to, okay, I'm ready, give it to me.
'Cause there
and,
are-
and that's not talking ill.
This-
Jamaican rum, especially the high ester stuff, is beautiful, complex rum, but it's not for the faint of heart.
But this has a delicacy to it that you don't expect when you
Absolutely.
say Jamaican. rum.
Absolutely, and I do think that extra aging in the bourbon cask really helps bring out some of the wood notes on this. This is a super limited one. It's available only at Specs. It's a little on the pricey side, about $150 a bottle,
think I've seen
but
that.
it's worth $300 a bottle. I've seen other brands out there that go for a lot more. They're not as nearly enjoyable a drink, and this might be my favorite one that we have out there right now. I would say I'm going to put this just a skosh above that Jamaican one with the tealing finish that we did for HBS a couple of years ago, which up in that point was my favorite Jamaican single cask. This one's my favorite now.
I think Ian will agree with me when I say that here on Smoking and Toasted, we want the funk.
Yes.
We love the funk. Got to have
I like
that
that.
funk.
Gotta
This
have the funk.
has such a great finish to it. A very
It really
fruity
does,
kind of
yeah.
finish to it.
Did
Did you get that char of the barrel on the nose?
It's just got that, I say this in the best possible way, it tastes expensive. Does that make sense?
It tastes expensive, and it is.
Well,
Well, okay.
but
No,
listen,
that's a
if you're-
tagline from somebody else a long time ago.
But if you're buying an expensive bottle, and that's expensive for rums. I mean, you can see whiskey and some other spirits that there's a whole bunch of things in that price range. There's not as many rums in that price range, right?
I apologize. I just had a moan there on TV. on the mic there. It was involuntary. Where I had a big sip. I went, It's just such good rum.
This makes me want to pair it with something with a beautiful Connecticut wrapper to it.
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Well, what I was going to say about
Anybody
this
we
is
know?
Not a wrapper from Connecticut. That's different.
Yeah. little con.
Little con.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more of the show and more tasting, including a beer tasting. We're going to taste this, what I expect to be a very large IPA. It's a Hazy Imperial from Adroit Brewing called Abandon All Hope. And
I'm excited about that.
in our next segment, we're also going to we're going to put Bex on the spot and ask her, and I'm not giving you a hint until we get to it, the single biggest rum question that there is. And we'll see how she does. Doc says we'll just trial by fire.
Oh, God.
Okay?
I don't know if I want that question.
I think we've asked you this before, but we'll ask Bex when we come back at Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We are Smoking and Toasting, show number 224. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Check them out on the web. They are a sponsor of the show. We appreciate them doing that, and we appreciate you supporting them. And when you do, you'll get really cool shirts and stuff.
Do you have any word on them? Have you talked to them about doing a smoking toast?
Yes,
specific?
there are conversations happening right now, actually, about that. So,
right.
about getting a Smoking and Toasting, MyCigarShirts.com commemorative shirt.
Oh,
Yes.
commemorative even.
Yeah. They actually asked if we had a photo of Alan Denny that we could send.
You get one that says halfway to 300?
Yeah, that's right. Halfway to 300. I think
The
that'll
commemorative
work.
halfway to 300.
That's right. And so we'll tell you about when that's released. There's actually a whole slew of new designs coming for the spring. So that's what I've been told. So welcome back to the show. We are glad to have you here. Oh, check them out online, by the way, at mycigarshirts.com because
Cigars.
yes. So Docs and Bex are here from Plantation Rum. Bex has been with the company now for, she said, 4 or 5 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it is time for us to ask you. And we've asked Docs this before. I don't recall how well he did in answering this. But we're going to put you totally on the spot and ask you the biggest rum question there is. How do you deal with a drunken sailor?
But be specific. At what time of day?
Oh, I didn't know there was a time.
Early in the morning.
Early.
Early. Okay, yeah, early in the morning.
Push him off the boat.
Perfect. I think it qualifies. I think that qualifies.
Push them off the boat.
Most people will put them in a rowboat till he's sober,
Yeah.
but I suppose that works.
Note to self: don't turn back on Bex.
Absolutely. Oh, so welcome back to the show. I forgot to pull out the next beer, Ian, so let me grab it here real quick. And we will move into our IPA.
The next
tasting.
phase of our beer tasting.
Ladies and gentlemen, Adroit Brewing from Purcelville, Virginia. It's what all this
I
abandoned.
love this.
It's what all this Abandon All Hope talk is about. Is this beer? It's the Abandon All Hope Hazy Imperial IPA, and
Yeah, this. For those of you who are just listening and not watching, you just need to go look at a picture of this because
yeah, you can find it on the
great.
web.
It's very apocalyptic,
I may pass on this one.
almost
really?
robot-looking guy.
So Bruce Stark did say that according to his research, the Abandon Hope All Ye Who Enter Here sign is in fact on the Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm
ride.
going to have to double check this because also the references, because I know for a fact that it is the original, where it comes from is Dante's Inferno.
Right.
which
But
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to repurpose it.
I don't know,
Maybe
because
it's-
honestly, there used to be a club called Emos back in the day. That
I remember Emos,
It's
yeah.
not emo. No, that doesn't. But remember,
It wasn't
Emos,
an emo club, but
yes, it was an
yeah.
emo club, but it had emos. It had on the back of it, "All ye who enter Abandon All Hope." That made me nervous back then. I think that I would notice it because I know the reference. I think that I would notice it on that ride. I'd be like, we'll
You know
move
what?
on to Small World.
You know what? I'm gonna challenge you on this though because it could be.
This yours?
I think this is mine. It could be that it exists, but it's in the line, the waiting queue line. And I think you're like super Mr. Disney Insider. You don't have to wait in all those line queues all the time.
Where are
do
you
you?
hearing this from? I'm a normal guy.
Disney
I put my clothes on.
He shows
I
up
put
and
my
they're like,
pants
"Hey,
on one leg at a
Docs,
time.
your golf cart is waiting."
He puts his Mickey Mouse. He puts his Mickey Mouse hat on one ear at a time, just like all the normal people, right? So, all right.
Your
Well,
golf cart is waiting to take you to your
that's
suite.
right. So I will say, I actually got that treatment at Disney once when I was working in the radio biz, and Hollywood Records existed, and it was a subsidiary of Disney. And one of the Hollywood representatives
remember
scored
record
me,
stores?
Yeah, scored me like some sort of super pass thing where I got to like skip the line. It's like getting the fast pass for every ride every time and walking right on. It was the greatest Disney experience ever. I rode everything in like the first 3 hours, and then I just like,
Now what?
I just went and drank.
I think that with this
With this
Adroit
IPA?
Theory beer, they had the same person writing the label. It says, according to the Surgeon General. Sorry, that joke's. I had to bring it back.
It's working for me.
8% volume.
Yeah, this is a big beer.
It is very big.
Anytime an IPA is over 7, I think of it as being pretty big.
Much hops in this. DDH, Mosaic, Vic Secret, Azaka, Eldorado, and Monterey.
So there's some actual information on this can for sure.
A little bit, yeah.
So this is big. It reminds me of some of Stone's IPAs.
This goes with flank steak and shiitake yakitori.
I see a cheese pairing on there, do I know?
It's very
Romano. I don't know how to say
Romano
this,
cheese?
Pradera?
Who?
Romano?
I think it's
Pradera?
Ray.
Romano
Pradera.
and Ray Romano cheese.
I think it's Ray Romano.
Ray Romano cheese. It's R-U-U-M-A-N-O,
So
Rumano.
So Ian, obviously, I'm the IPA guy. I'm going to be prone to like something like this.
They
But
also
how-
have cigar pairings with it.
What do they say to pair with this?
Montecristo, Nicaragua Series Robusto.
Oh well, that's a great cigar.
That is a great cigar. I can see
Fortunately,
it.
they didn't say the Montecristo Epic.
What's what's interesting about this is, and also if you're wondering about the mouthfeel on this, contains lactose in that.
Oh, so there's a little bit of that. It gives it that creamier
super
mouthfeel.
orangey.
It's
on the nose.
interesting how orange juice big this is on the flavor, and it doesn't linger.
It reminds me of like a big Stone, except plus the citrus.
Yeah.
And when I say Stone, I mean Stone Brewing.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? I mean, I'm the hophead, so I'm going to like this.
I would drink this.
You would
I
drink this? Yeah. Now,
No problem
you like
with
the
this.
lighter beers. What's your take on this?
Yes, I'm not a hoppy beer person, but honestly, it is so citrus forward.
Yeah.
I could drink this and not pull faces every time I say
It does have a little. It does have a little dank on the
Yep,
finish.
there's a
little
little
dank
dank.
and a little pine cone.
We like the dank and
But
the
it's-
funk.
Ah, but
It's
Mo, the
phenomenal.
dank.
What is dank?
What is the definition of dank? Cruze, are you
That's
with us?
In this context.
so. Right at the very end of the finish, the dankness is that kind of. It's almost an astringency, and it's a lingering, not quite pine coney kind of flavor. It's a little off, but in a good way.
Okay.
It's kind of like trying to describe funk in
Jamaican rum.
Jamaican rum, but dank happens in IPA.
The more you know.
Interesting. By the way, there's a note on the commentary, Adam, that says Bruce says he's not hearing the music. I'm hearing it on our headphones when we have segments. Is there something turned weird? I don't know. I don't know. I know nothing about this board, so I have
Madness.
no idea how to pick it up. I like this very much. I think it's big, but I like when you can go big and it's not just an absolute hop assault, and the citrus kind of keeps it a little more balanced.
No, this has flavor balance and doesn't
Yeah.
just crush you with 7 hops.
I'm not a big IPA guy.
Sorry, 6 hops.
I don't
it
hate
is.
this.
I was going to say. I thought I
don't hate
remembered
this.
you're not as big an IPA guy. So, all right. So it's getting pretty good marks all the way around.
It does have an intimidating can.
Oh, it totally does.
I
It
don't
totally
like
does.
that can. I want to.
It's a scary looking
We
can.
had to stop off at church on the way home.
Abandon hope. Yeah, for sure. All right. So where are we going next in the rum tasting category here, Dux?
Oh, dearie. We're going to do one or two right now.
We're gonna do one more in this segment, and then
Can I throw a
one in the phone.
curveball?
Sure, I love curveballs.
Can we unleash some cognac?
Oh, I love that.
Okay,
was enjoying-
and we have an image on this.
The
Also.
Generations.
now-
just the other evening.
You can enjoy. You can pour this into these glasses.
No,
or I
no,
do,
no.
I do also have some
We're-
plastic
we're
cups.
gonna get. What'd you say?
I said I do also have some plastic cups.
Sir, I am not Nick Telemontes. You will not drink my stuff. And
I feel like you've just thrown down a glove in front of this
I feel
man.
like I did.
that was totally planned, Nick. Don't
Yeah,
go.
yeah. That was something he said actually before the show that we had to figure out how to repeat. So that was kind of like when you're on, the Jimmy Fallon show and he asks you the question, but they know the question was coming and they pretend to be surprised by the question.
Have you drank from that yet?
It's like that. So this is a cognac.
Do you need
It is
water?
a cognac. We have been known to dabble in that
Yes,
category just a touch.
You do.
But I do want a fresh glass for you guys because this is something special here.
Okay.
And
you really don't want the plastic cup, do you?
And Adam, do you have that image you can throw up for us?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's go to the replay. So this is the Ferron Légendaire. The Ferron Légendaire. This is the finest of our cellars. It's just the best way to describe it.
Nice.
We have done other older cognacs. We used to do the Abel, which was 40 years old, around that area. And we also did the Ancestral, which was 60 to 70 years old. And this is going to range as high as 70 years old, but there's going to be a full range of cognac. But see, now here's the thing.
The bottle looks way better on TV.
Which one?
bottle.
This is just a sample one. Did it come up already? Look now.
Yeah.
So leave that
It
image
looks
up.
bigger on TV.
When you order on Wish.
Leave that image up for just a little bit. Where's your glass?
This is his glass.
This is glass. Okay. Let's.
Oh,
No,
sorry. I
this
just wanted to
is-
throw some levity in there.
This is fantastic on the nose. Fantastic.
So what you're looking at there in that image, that is actually a hallway of what's called Chateau Mademoiselle. It is the family home of the last living descendant of Eli Ferron VIII, who is our inspiration for our cognacs. And the box that it comes in, you'll see that kind of creepy lady hand holding the ball. That's a knocker on the front door of the...
No kidding.
Yeah, that's a recreation of that. Now, this is just a little sample bottle. Now, this is available only at Specs. We've only got 4 bottles in the state, and all 4 at Specs on Smith Street, and it's about, I think, $2,500 and some change
Okay,
in that area.
yeah.
But what this cognac is...
Ian, do you want 1 or 2? On the way home.
I'm going to go with 1.
Okay.
Start with 1.
Going to have to sell something.
See how that works out. See how your credit
but
scores.
seriously though, if it's 70 years old, if there's
Well,
70-year-old
hold the
cognac in
phone.
here,
Let's not get caught up in that 70 because that's the
Okay.
old. That's what we call the Bonificateur. That's the oldest cognac inside
Okay, all right.
in the blend.
and not
Can I
everything's
just,
that old.
can I just say something to all my friends watching this as I'm about to take a sip of $2,500 a bottle cognac?
I noticed that you didn't even use the effects box. You went for you. You went for you. Well, wow. This is it's a tough life, Ian.
Staying humble there, my friend. I love it.
Yeah.
It just smells so incredible. I haven't even tasted it
Yeah,
yet.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm just enjoying
savoring.
the nose on it.
You
Yeah.
I mean, we're honestly, guys, we could take a whole show here just to take our time on this one. But
Well, you're not
it's-
kidding.
It's something special because what this is our opus. This is the finest of our cellars. It's not all about the age. These are the ones hand selected by Alexandre and our team as our finest cognacs, and we're going to blend those into very small batches. It's very rare. It's extremely rare, and that's what puts that price tag on it. I once learned this from the master blender of Martel years ago, and that is there's no such thing as a 100-year-old cognac. There's no such thing as a 200-year-old cognac. Spirits are defined. Their age, just cognac and all spirits, are defined by the amount of time they spend aging in wood, usually oak. All right.
Right.
If you take a 70-year-old cognac that sat in a barrel for 70 years and you put it into what they call the demijohn, the big glass bottles which they use to store the cognac afterwards, at least the fine cognacs, and you let it sit for another 100 years, it's still only 70 years old.
Because it only is defined by the amount of time it's in the barrel.
That's correct.
So-
And the fact of the matter is that a 100-year-old cognac, a 100-year-old spirit of any kind, it's going to be sludge. It's going to be a dust.
Right.
It's just not going to be anything drinkable or usable there. So letting us not get too caught up in ages all the time.
Yeah, sure.
So, I had another thought on that, and I think it's all the IPA and the cognac I've been drinking here.
Well, I can ask you this. When it comes to cognac, and you've got something that's this spectacular, is it the grapes? Is it the aging? Is it the cask? Is it the blend? Obviously, it's all of those things. But what are the
answer is yes.
Are any of those more important than others when it comes to crafting a spirit that's this outstanding?
So we have a term at Ferrand, and we call it élevage. And the best way to describe élevage, and it's not just our term, but the best way to describe élevage is just the steps that we take. It's the first step to the last step in the care that we take. So we are 100% Grand Champagne cognac, as you know, and we are in the Golden Triangle of Grand Champagne, which is the best area of Grand Champagne. So we have a foot up in the race, but just we start off wonderfully because we are in the best part of the best part of the best part of the world to grow grapes to make brandy, in this case cognac.
Yeah.
All right, so and a lot of it is there is you're very limited on the variety of grapes you can use. There's only 7 you can use, and 90% of the blend has to be of 3 varieties, which is going to be Folie Blanc, Uni Blanc, and Colombard. At Ferrand, we use mostly Uni Blanc with a little bit of Colombard, mostly just for the ombre. But again, it's that Grand Champagne region. It's the care of the aging and the blending. And we practice something called redouage. And I know there's someone that speaks perfect French, especially in the cognac world, that goes, we do what? Because I know I said that wrong. But that's the best I can say it. There's redouage. And that is the act of we check our cognacs in the barrel. And if we feel that the barrel needs a little something and it's not aging up to our standards, we're going to take the cognac out of that barrel. We're going to strip it down. We're going to probably replace 2 to 3 to 4 staves and rebuild the barrel and put that cognac back in. It's an incredible.
that doesn't sound like a pain in the butter.
Not at all.
but that's all part of élevage.
Yeah.
It's the care that we put into
That's
it.
making sure.
And to be fair, that is not an uncommon thing in the cognac world. There is an art to blending. And in larger blending houses like Hennessy and Martell and Courvoisier, they make wonderful cognacs from top to bottom, no question about it. But they don't always produce, or I should say distill, all their base spirit. There's nothing wrong with that. Cognac is proof there's an art to blending, and that is the true sign of the best houses. Not only, it's not just the distillation, but it's the blending. It's the blending, it's the aging and the blending. That's what makes a good cognac house.
And that could be true in a lot of spirits. I mean, you look at there are some blended whiskeys that are just so much better than any of those distillates would have been by themselves.
Let's talk about this for a moment.
Yeah, we should.
This is unbelievable.
It is.
It's absolutely unbelievable. I can't believe.
And it's delightful grapiness on the nose.
When
like
you get an
grape.
amazing chocolate or something, you let it just melt in your mouth
Right.
and just sit there and savor it. That's what I keep doing with this. I just let it sit on my palate.
I'm taking the smallest sips that I can to prolong the experience.
And
you
it's
know what I mean?
absolutely amazing. There's no heat from this, like whatsoever. The grape forwardness of it, and the you can almost taste like the grape skin.
Yes,
almost
for sure.
right there. It's there's a little astringency to that.
Well, you get that tannins definitely for sure, but
Yes.
it's not that choking tannins. It's not over tannins.
No.
It's like this perfect amount, and we distill with the lees, and these is distilling with some of the skin and some of the stem and that sort of thing. And depending on the cognac that we want to produce, the heavier we go on the lees. We always distill lees. And that's one of the reasons why you really get that skin of the grape in there.
That's
Wow.
really good.
Wow,
It's
just
amazing.
it's just outstanding. I mean, it's almost difficult to describe how good this is. You know, you feel like I said all those other descriptive words about that other thing that wasn't nearly this good. You know what I mean? It's just it can be a little difficult to find the right
Cognac's so
the
good,
right
and we're like,
expression.
what the hell are we talking about before
Yeah.
this? I don't know.
But I don't. Cognac is not a go-to spirit for me. It's something I enjoy every once in a while. I would have to, if I had a bottle of this in the bar at home, I would have to redefine special occasion though.
I
You know what
don't
mean?
know if I can keep my hands off it though.
Yeah.
This
It's like a
is-
bag of chips that's open. You're like, oh, just take a couple.
Right. Yeah. I'd be like,
Except for
yeah,
it's like a
just little.
$2,500 bag of chips.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
No, this is absolutely amazing. I've never tasted a cognac like this, and I mentioned earlier I was indulging in the generations.
10 generations, yes.
The 10 generations just last week, and thinking to myself, I don't drink cognac all that often.
Yeah.
But I sure like it when I do.
Yeah.
This
See,
is-
again, another T-shirt. I don't drink cognac often, but when I do, it's for on 10 generations.
I think somebody's come close to that before. Yeah. Well, really, really just outstanding. I'm almost speechless now. This will be the third time, Ian.
So I'm excited to share this with you, and I kid you not, no one, and I mean no one inside of my universe has tasted this yet. You're the first.
This is amazing.
Wow. Well, we're honored. Wow. This is quite a thing. Ian, do you want to send that message out to your friends one more time?
Yeah, to anybody who thinks, oh, that guy has this podcast, I'm just going to say, Pierre Ferrand, $2,500 cognac.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And I get to try it.
And with that, we will take a break, and we will be right back. By the way, coming up, how could you not follow this with drinking news? There's just nothing else that would be appropriate.
Drinking news.
Drinking news is up next, and more tasting. Although I don't know, we may have gone too big too early here, Doc. So this is going to be good.
I
We'll be
see
right
my
back.
friend Bach is watching. He's going to be featured on this before long.
Smoking and toasting. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are show number 224 today, and we are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com because...
Cigars.
Yes. Our guests are Docs and Bex from Plantation Rum and Pierre Ferrand, Maison Ferrand. And I just want to say, by the way, Bex, you've been getting some good action on the comments section on the show. Bruce Stark says, Bex hasn't said much, but when she does, it's spot on. That's what he said.
Bruce,
So-
I can assure you that is
Thank
not
you.
the norm.
Okay,
And it's very she's got a lot to say. Not that it's wrong, but
Yeah,
just, she's got a lot more to
There's a
say.
lot to say. All right.
This
Well,
has been a real treat.
We also had Bruce say, whoa, that's a big ukulele. And Wiki Bryan said, don't feed his ego.
okay. Well, ordinarily Ian does play the Drinking News theme song on ukulele, but today you're on guitar. So
Today I am on guitar. Are we ready for drinking news?
we are. Let me just say before we begin, the Drinking News is a segment of the show where we bring you a news story from somewhere. It is often, but not always, about drinking, but it is generally a story that is best enjoyed if you are drinking. And today's story is actually about drinking. So here we go.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When I asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
So somehow we've not been able to cheers, y'all. We've not been able to get this segment to go away. It keeps coming
haunting
back.
us, too.
It just keeps coming back. So for today's drinking news, I actually dropped back a few years for a story that took place in 2012. I didn't know where you were going with that. Today's
I'm
story.
just putting background music behind you. You know, I can't actually do this because it just distracts him. He starts listening to the guitar.
So, a little background before we give this story. You know, I don't know if you know that much about the Amish, but if you've at least watched movies or television shows, you may know that there's this point in time when the Amish young people, teenagers, are allowed to leave and go out into the world and experience the world.
Like
And
in Kingpin?
Yes, so they're wild oats, that type of thing. And then if they want to come back and live the Amish lifestyle, they at least know they've tried it and this is better for them. And some of them eventually leave.
What's the ratio of those that actually come back?
I
I'm
think
curious.
honestly, I think more of them come back. A lot more of them come back than not. I think it's like culture shock for them. So I don't know whether the four young men in today's drinking news story wound up going back or not, but apparently they were on their Amish spring break. Authorities in Western New York in 2012 charged four young Amish adults with illegal possession of alcohol after they collided with a police car during their drinking party. What is notable about this is they collided with the police car in their horse and buggy.
And why was it illegal possession of alcohol?
They were probably underage.
Oh, okay.
Would be my guess. It was a crash that occurred about 7:15 on a Sunday evening near the rural town of Sherman, near the Pennsylvania border in North New York's southwest corner. Officials say deputies were responding to reports that people were drinking in several Amish buggies on a county road. As a patrol car arrived on the scene, one of the Amish buggies changed lanes and collided with the police vehicle. The buggy flipped on his side, causing minor injuries to one of the people on board. Police say, this is my favorite line in the whole story, several other buggies fled the scene. And that, my friends, was good enough to bring back from 2012 for your drinking news.
Drinking news. That was time for drinking news.
I have so many jokes. They're all stuck in the door. They can't get out. Don't know where to begin.
I just love the idea. The idea of seeing them try to make a getaway with the horse and buggy.
Make haste, English, go.
That's just absolutely brilliant. So,
I have an update. May I?
Oh, please.
Sorry. From my lovely wife, Suzanne Snyder Doxakis. You guys know as Zany. This is official here. This is a reference. Dante's Inferno, the Ninth Circle of Hell, is referenced in the Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie, The Curse of the Black Pearl. So I do not believe it to be in the ride. It's in the movie.
It's in the movie.
So
okay.
We're all right.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we cleared that up because I wouldn't want to have ended the show without, setting the story straight, leaving people to feel that it's not appropriate. Now we didn't get a big sound effect there, Ian.
No,
but I know that was wax top.
It was all wax, and then even when I dropped the lid, it didn't, or the cap, it didn't go clink, clink, clink.
We had a bit of a hard time getting the wax off.
Wax on, wax
going
off.
the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think that's right. So what we're trying here is one that they recommend that you cellar, and this has been cellared, or in my case, beer closeted, from back in 2019. This is the Deschutes, the Abyss, and Ian, once you've done the pouring there, I want you to read all of the stuff that it says on the because it's not just an Imperial Stout. It's an Imperial Stout that they've done a whole bunch of stuff to. So, are we being buzzed by a drone? What is that sound? I don't know what it is.
I think they're doing yard work out there.
Okay, fair enough.
Same thing
All
happened
right,
to us when I was at my house. Remember that?
Uh-huh, yes.
does it say?
You got
The
the
same
guy
guy out
with the leaf
there.
blower.
Deschutes Brewery, Bend, Oregon, The Abyss, 2013 Reserve.
Yeah. No, it's 2019.
According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink.
Yeah,
that's the wrong part of
That's what I was hoping you would.
the same
be
guy
able to
writes
do.
all these.
I know he's very prolific.
No, it says 2013 Reserve. That was the 13, right?
Yes.
Confirmed by
All
Bex.
All right,
Argue
very
with
good.
her.
Very good.
Right.
All right.
She'll hit you with
All right.
those
So
ice
what does this?
blue
What
eyes.
does this say though under the Abyss?
Malt beverage brewed with blackstrap molasses, licorice with cherry bark, and vanilla, added with 6% aged in oak bourbon barrels,
That's a long description.
11% aged in oak barrels, and
Okay.
11% aged in oak wine barrels.
Wow.
So
It's
they've
dark, it's deep, it's mysterious. This Imperial Stout has immeasurable depth, inviting you to explore and discover its rich, complex profile. The flavor of this special brew draws you in further and further with each sip. The Abyss beckons. Enjoy the journey.
You could do it.
That's what she said.
So abandon all your
There we go.
hope
There we
and go into the Abyss.
I love it. I love it.
It
Somebody
smells
say
like
that's
soy
what
sauce.
she said.
Now she said that it smells like soy sauce. So has this possibly
Oh,
been
it
cellared
does smell
for
like
too
soy
long?
sauce.
Because that's what can happen if you cellar it for too long, and it's past its prime.
Man, it's on the hairy gray edge of. Yeah, it's a little bit past.
I can't believe
There
there's,
it
I
is.
can't believe there's no coffee in production here because I'm getting a ton of coffee on this.
There is definitely coffee.
This is
flavor.
substantially past its prime. So there's a.
Well,
it's
it
interesting.
happens. It
Okay,
happens.
so it's interesting. When this says 2013 reserve, so when you got it was in
I got it in 2019.
2019. So by then it was already 6 years old. You got a couple extra years on it. Some beers will do that and they'll be fine. Some They start to turn, and this one just kind of went to soy sauce.
Is this the first time we've had that happen on 220?
It's the first one that we've tried that's definitely happened to.
Yeah. Well, that's disappointing because I was really looking forward to this.
It almost has its flavor intact in the front, but man, the finish on it is
you're absolutely right. You
all
get that
soy
coffee.
sauce.
You get the coffee up front, but yeah, the finish is
And
soy
it smells
sauce.
like it smells like
and not the good kind of soy
It's super
sauce
viscous,
either.
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I am
Oh,
familiar
totally.
with this beer, however. I'm going to tell you that the Abyss, any of their stouts from Deschutes, and especially in this line, are outstanding. This one just happens to be, it's sat a little too long.
Well, so there's the cautionary tale of the show today. If you have one of these, don't let it sit for
Don't
too
let it
long.
too long. Yeah.
Yeah. Even the beers that are meant to be cellared, or
Wiki Brian is very
Beer
upset
closet.
by this, but this is definitely, he's familiar with this too. This is definitely past his prime.
Yeah. Well, and happens. Our apologies to the guests who brought us great cognac and rum.
How dare you?
and we
We're
sour beer.
We
We're rolling.
insulted them with
Give us
a
what
little extra soy
expired
sauce.
Abyss.
So tell me then, where are we going to try to kind of move away from that taste?
Please.
I feel bad now because if their beer is truly better than that, and normal, it's like I want to put a pin in this and come back and try like a fresh one.
Well,
Oh, it's really
it
good.
actually is. Deschutes does even just their regular. If you just go buy like a 6-pack of their porter, fantastic stuff. But yeah, this one just sat too long.
We all have our bad
That's
days.
that's not their fault. That's my fault for leaving it in the beer closet.
In 2019, it might have still been.
Yeah, it might have been all
Pretty
right.
awesome.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
forget-
there's a 6 to 7 year mark I've found on a lot of stouts that it starts getting a little sketchy. 4 years is a good place to go.
Yeah, four works pretty good for stouts or porters. You're right. So, all right, Docs, take us somewhere.
We're gonna go to Panama.
All right, I love
Panama, and we're going to start with the Panama 6-year-old. We released 2 Panama rums this past year, and the reason why I brought them both, 2 reasons. Number one, they're both still available. I hate to tease the listener something they can't get anymore.
Do that on Chris Hart's show because that's what he likes to do.
Right.
That's what he likes to do.
And here's something that hasn't existed in over 100 years. Let's enjoy it now.
Enjoy it. Yes.
But they are 2 beautiful rums and 2 different kinds of expressions, I should say. So let's start with the Panama 6-year-old, and this was one that I didn't do it for a specific group. I released this one on General Market, and you can find it anywhere in Texas right now at your better retailers. But this one is going to be 3.5 years in the Ferron cask. 3.5 years in the bourbon cask. 1.5 years in Ferron cask, and it's going to spend an extra 1.5 years in Marsala wine casks.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is going to be a savory. Let's do that. That's fine.
So while he's pouring that, I'll just give a random Panama fact. The classic song "Panama" by Van Halen, not about the country or the canal.
It's not.
No, it's about a stripper David Lee Roth knew that was named Panama. That's a true story, by the way.
Sounds about right.
Yep, not surprising at all. So, Panama rum. Now, are there distinctive characteristics? Like we know Jamaican rum's going to generally be a little more funky. Are there distinctive characteristics for rum from Panama that you would say to look for?
Come on, man, jump in. You like Panama rum?
Panama rums I find to be richer.
Yeah,
A little on the sweeter side, and I hate using the word sweet because
it can give the wrong connotation.
for some of the rum heads, it's like, oh, it's sweet, oh, gross. No. It's not overly sweet. It's not cloyingly sweet.
Right.
But typically the Panama rums, at least all the Panama rums I've ever had, have been on the richer, sweeter side. You know.
It definitely has that almost like sweet fruit sort of vibe on the nose.
And on the nose, I'm getting a hint of 70-year-old cognac. Yeah,
Maybe.
a little bit of that. Always bring extra glassware, I always say. No, but seriously though, on the nose, it has a. Can you say a savory nose? Is it possible to have a savory nose? It's not
Sure,
sweet, but there's just a lot going on there.
Sure, I think savory would be more complex. Sweet is kind of a single note. Savory is more intermingled.
So
You definitely taste the Marsala
For sure.
that.
And but it's not like this like super intruding influence. Sometimes we'll get spirits that you can tell they've been triple finished or extra aged and something, and that secondary spirit tends to take over a little bit. It's not here. It's very complementary. And as Marsala wine can be on the sweet side sometimes, but it is definitely a savory wine. And it definitely savories up this particular rum.
Ian, will you just make sure that gets a good camera view? That's very, very good.
This one you can find like $55, $60.
Okay, so around the same general price range as the first one that we tried.
Yeah, you can find this one at NASA Liquor.
But it's so different though from that. I mean, it you can tell that it's rum and that was rum, but they're like, you ever meet like those members of the same family that you wonder if maybe one of them's adopted? Like it's kind of like that different. Like you don't look anything like that. But no, it couldn't be more different from the first one and still be rum. You know what I mean?
But that's our mission.
This beautiful sugarcane note in here that just.
And am I crazy? Do you get a little mint on the nose?
There is a little
subtle hint.
I
of
can
mint.
go with that.
A subtle hint of mint. I like it. No, you're absolutely right though. It's part of what you guys do to come up with all these different flavors and expressions of rum. And I think it's part of why you guys, more so than any other rum company that I know of, you are really diverse in terms of where the rum comes from, where it was distilled, what the different flavors and stuff are.
Would you mind saying that one more time?
Sure. No, but it really.
Can you just replay the video?
You guys are so diverse. I mean, it really is true. You have more differing expressions of rum than any other rum company. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some wonderful rums out there, but they have a tendency to kind of feel like they're very much in the same family. You guys feel like you're an extended family almost, with a different. Different flavor profiles based on all the places that your rum comes from.
I actually say it again because it's the greatest compliment you can give us, and that because that's our mission is to display, if not celebrate, the diversity of the terroir of rum, and that is, the rums they do have different characteristics, and that is going to be largely based on where that rum is produced.
So your Isle of Fiji rum that we've had on the show before,
I've
Ian tasted
tasted it
one
once.
time. Yeah.
I tasted it once.
That rum retails for like $25.
Yeah.
It's like, how, I'm trying to, I almost want to say that it's about the best $25 you could spend on a spirit.
You have more experience with that one than I do.
I do. So I'm not afraid to say it. But it is amazing to me, though, that, we've sampled this cognac that was, from a $2,500 bottle. And yet all the way down at the other end of the spectrum, you guys are able to produce a $25 bottle of rum that really is just so full of flavor and outstanding. And I guess the question I'm trying to ask very awkwardly is, how can you do that inexpensively for something like Isle of Fiji?
Well, I don't think it's that inexpensive. $25 is still a handsome amount for a spirit, and I wouldn't call it cheap. But rum itself, rum is by category significantly less expensive than scotches and whiskeys and that sort of thing. Because you go buy
is that just because of the market, or is it because of it being a more inexpensive spirit to distill? Is it?
I think a lot of it has to do with just the base material being the sugar cane or the molasses. I think that just as a category and as a business, they haven't pumped up the prices yet. I don't know.
I think that might be true.
It's an excellent question.
Don't let that happen.
So we've totally seen this happen in tequila.
But listen, it's an excellent question, because what makes spirits expensive is the aging process. It's the most expensive part, because you use so much product. You're sitting on product and you're paying taxes on that. There's just no way to speed up the watch on that. There's no hyperdrive, and so that's what makes it expensive. But at the same time, if we don't have a stated age on the Isle of Fiji, but it's going to be around the 5-year mark. And we definitely have that 5-year age on the Barbados 5-year. But as we get into some of these older expressions, there's certainly the price is going to go up, but really what's going to drive that price is going to be the rarity of it.
Right.
And some of us just only have so much of it. It was a one-shot deal.
Absolutely.
So,
no, that makes sense.
And rarity does drive up the price, and not artificially. I mean, I know that there's a big argument about the prices of hard to get bourbons that didn't used to be hard to get, that it's inflated and pumped up. That's not the case here. We're not talking about ridiculously large amounts of money here. It's just a natural reflection of the rarity of the product.
It's not like Pappy, which.
I'm not familiar with that.
Pappy Van Winkle. Oh, you're not familiar. Okay, gotcha.
Never heard of it.
But there's a situation where you almost feel like it's priced where it is because that's what the market will bear. I know there's some limited availability, but.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, and again, I think it's rare to I think if you see like a smaller producer that's putting out a younger rum for the first time, and there's a certain amount of money they need to make to stay in business, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what that's what their product is worth. That's
sure.
If they have to charge $35 for a product they feel is the best they could offer to you, and it's a 3-year-old rum, then it's up to the consumer to
decide if that's fair enough.
Exactly,
yeah.
and I would not call that greed.
No.
It's people. You need to turn a profit. You need to make money to keep a business afloat. So There's no shame in that.
But that said, I've seen just in the last 10 years, I've seen the prices of tequila begin to climb pretty dramatically. I mean, it seems like every time I buy another bottle of Reserva de la Familia, it's $5 to $10 more than it was the last time I bought it, and it's not the only one.
I feel like we go in waves with tequila, though. I feel like in the early 2000s there was that shortage, alleged shortage of agave, where the price of tequila went way up. I think we go in waves in that.
Yeah, that may be true. That may be true. Is there any scarcity of sugarcane and molasses that can be caused by weather conditions in the countries where these are originated?
I think like any crop, bad weather can certainly hurt the harvest, if that's the correct word for it. But I'm not aware of any current situation where there's going to be any shortage of sugarcane or molasses. And you have to remember, there's just so many different areas where sugarcane is being grown and molasses being processed.
Rum is definitely a spirit, though, that is kind of coming into its own, I think, and being more respected. You see more. I get a number of the cigar magazines. I see more and more articles about pairing cigars and rum. And I'll say this, as somebody who enjoys cigars and spirits, I think rum is probably the easiest spirit to pair with cigars. You almost, if it's a good quality rum, you almost can't go wrong. You almost can't go wrong. And whereas whiskey can be a little trickier. You need the right cigar with the right whiskey. That's why we do the whiskey sniff. So, which, by the way, we're working on the process of being able to do the whiskey sniff again. We took a year off during the pandemic, obviously, but we do want to do the whiskey sniff again in 2021. So
we also have to find time to do our 200th episode.
Yes, which we never did. Well, once everybody gets vaccinated, we'll do the delayed 200th.
Which number are we on right now?
We're 224 right now.
224. So that would actually be 199 points.
Yeah,
2023.
Because when we did the 100th episode, we had there was like 20 people there.
Absolutely.
I was out of the country, and I hated to miss that. I remember that. Oh.
It was the longest show we've ever done. Coming in at like 4 hours.
It sure felt that way watching it.
Yeah. Oh, you should have been there. No, but no, it was a lot of fun, and we wanted to do something similar, take it up a notch maybe for the 200th show, but we were in lockdown, so there wasn't much that we could do.
How much more time do we have in this segment?
We're about done with this segment. We have a final segment. We can come back and do something else.
Perfect, because we're going to build a bridge in the gap between these next two rums. We're going to there's a connection.
All right, good. We'll come back with that connection and wrap up Smoking and Toasting after this. It's Smoking and Toasting 224. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Show number 224. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we're brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com because...
Cigars.
Yes. Dox and Bex are here from Plantation Rum. And you guys have This has been a very interesting show. I mean, we had a beer that had gone bad and a $2,500 cognac, like in the same show. That's pretty awesome, actually.
I like to think that anytime I come on this show, it's an interesting show.
Well, seriously, you're a favorite guest for a reason. I mean, you really do know your stuff when it comes to rum and cognac and the stuff that you guys do. And I think it's one thing to go, yeah, I'm a rep, our stuff tastes good, but it is another to actually know what this is all about, and that's why it's fun to have you on, like in all seriousness. And it's also fun because you bring great stuff. So,
well, I'm blessed to have to work with a company where it's not just my vocation, it's my avocation. It's interesting to me.
Yeah,
I'm passionate about it.
I think that's important. I've always felt like, who is it that said, if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life, and that's kind of what this feels like.
Yeah, well, that's not true.
Yeah, well, maybe not. But if you find a job that you love that also involves drinking,
I almost use another word, but I know we're trying to clean it up these days.
it's okay. Like I think I told you, Chris Hart was on a couple of weeks ago, dropped the F-bomb like 14 times. It's all good. It's all good. So you were going to build a bridge between the rum that we just tasted.
I am.
And the which was the Panama, right?
I just got a quick flashback. I think it was the Judds that had that song, "Love Can Build a Bridge, Rum Can Build a Bridge."
Oh.
So here we go. So we had the Panama 6 year, we have the Panama 2007. Now, even though this came from the exact same distillery in South America, it's also going to be double aged in the Ferron cognac cask in France. The triple tertiary aging on this one is champagne cask. Champagne cask.
So does it give it a brighter being champaine cask?
I don't want to ruin it for you. I'm going to let you be the judge of that.
Right,
which one's glass is yours?
That one's that. Yeah.
I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
And I think you're going to see something different right away. What a wonderful noise.
It is a great noise.
Thank you.
It's very good. Well, I can tell on the nose it is very bright, but it's also very, very much rum. So it's not. When you have some, and I don't know what the proof is on this, but when you have some of the higher proof rums, you get strength on the nose more than you get the sort of sugarcane rum vibe.
This one's 92, and I believe that one is 84. Bex, can you check for me? I'm sorry. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Probably 80.
On the nose, I really like this. Like, this is very... This promises... From the nose, this promises the kind of... the kind of flavor I really, really love in rum.
So I was wrong. That one was 90. So automatically when we said that one was a little bit more savory on the nose, this one... As you said, it's more rummish on the nose.
Yeah.
You get that.
Okay, I'm glad that wasn't a stupid comment because I was like, it's very rum-like.
Like, I smell rum. You're not wrong.
It's like, who's it, Jim Gaffigan talks about people who buy bottled water and they taste it and go, this is really good. This is more watery than regular water. Well, this is more rummy than regular rum.
Am I getting a hint of water on there? Wow, you know your water, don't you? He's a staple in our house. He's kind of like church for us. My wife and my son watch him every Sunday morning, it feels like.
I will say that back in the day when I was doing the radio thing, which I've talked about a lot today, which is kind of weird because I don't usually talk about that, but I was able to have Jim Gaffigan in the studio a number of times. He wasn't as big then as he is now, but he was still headline, comedy clubs and stuff. But he was, first of all, one of the most gracious and awesome guests ever.
That makes me happy to hear that.
And secondly, he didn't need to do his material. He would just sit in the room, and you would talk about stuff, and he would be funny about.
But that is his material, though.
Yeah.
It's almost conversational and just like something. He has the funniest. He can find what's funny about anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. It's just fun and observational. But this is definitely more rummy than regular rum.
You're not wrong.
I love it on the nose. I love it even more on the palate. It's really fantastic.
Hey, Mom, do you feel like you're not getting enough rum out of your normal rum?
It's like an ad from WandaVision. Wow, this is really. Tell me what I'm getting here, because we've had so many different things, I'm having a hard time describing this. There's vanilla.
Uh-huh.
There's definite sugarcane wonderfulness.
So
It's not super sweet, but it's just bright.
So thank you. It's bright. I think it has more of a feeling than the other Panama. The other Panama 6 year was that more of that savory flavor, and you're getting that Marcelo wine. This one here is just definitely, you just feel it on the palate. It's more comfortable on the palate. It's warming. It's bright. And I will say this. So the champagne cask, and I got a theory. Science. I got a theory on this, right?
Science.
So, do you remember when Glenfiddich did their Grand Cru Scotch?
Yes.
Did you ever try that one?
Yes,
The
wonderful.
first time I tried that one, I was expecting something on a richer side and that sort of thing, but it was super dry, and that was just, the cognac guy and me assuming that by Grand Cru they meant cognac finished Scotch. It was not. It was champagne cask, and it was a super dry Scotch. This, I feel, is that very similar thing. I think that champagne cask really dries out the rum, but not in a way that's erasing all the flavor off of it. It's just taking some of the more richness from the Panama rum and drying it up a little bit and letting some of that other flavors roll out and let that warm, this golden mouthfeel shine.
There's an underlying fruity sweetness that lingers on this that really is pleasant.
It's got a little more of a rum hug on the end than some of the others that we've tried.
Rum hug, T-shirt, that's right. Rum hug.
Well, it started with Ian's phrase "whiskey hug," and now we apply that to everything. Actually, I think we have to have a T-shirt made that says on the front that says "the whiskey hug," and on the back says "it's awkward." Yeah.
But adding on to what you were saying earlier about how Plantation really showcases the different terroirs of the world, these are both Panamas, and
they couldn't be more different.
Right, they have these amazingly different personalities, and they share the same or similar terroir. I mean, they're both from Panama, so it's so interesting. I mean, you just can never learn enough or know enough or taste enough.
And boy, you said that right. Cheers to that.
I think that's the best description I've ever heard. Is that these the same lineage in the sense that they're both from Panama, but they have, even though they come from they say people that come from the same family, they have their own personalities. So they have the similarities, but yet they are their own person. That's just the best way to describe it. And again, that's really what our mission is.
It's kind of like the Wilson brothers, Owen and that other.
Owen and Luke.
Luke.
Owen and the other Wilson brother.
Yeah, they've got their own personalities.
Like Guillaume's calling. There you go. Should we put the Frenchman on the air?
What? Did we say something
He's like,
wrong?
you got this wrong, you pronounced that wrong, and don't say that. You shouldn't.
Hey, wanted to ask you about this label. It almost looks like a cigar band around the top of the Panama 2007. Says Texas Tiki Files 2020.
Texas
What is
Tiki
that?
Files. It's a fun little Facebook group. It's into all things tiki, and they just.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, they share a love of tiki bars and tiki culture, and by tiki culture I mean the kitsch tiki culture, not the true Polynesian religion. I guess
you're
if you
talking
will.
about the little.
This is flowered shirts and little umbrellas and Donahoe albums. You know what I mean?
That's what life's supposed to be all
Exactly.
about. That's
you know
exactly
what?
Right.
A tiki bar is probably my favorite kind of bar, and I give me the old. There's one I love it. I have so many. I don't know. It's like I'm accepting an award. There's so many. I don't know who to thank first. But there's one in Tulsa, Oklahoma called the Saturn Room, and from just the sign on the front to the inside, it's the old music. It's got the Bally High music and the smells. The best sign of a good tiki bar are the smells. It should be walking into like a farmer's market of produce and the rum, and just it's not just the drinks themselves, but it's a fully immersive experience of sight, sounds, and taste. There's nothing better in the world than a good tiki room. And locally, that would be Lelo for sure.
Yeah, Lelo's a blast.
I will also mention, and I never remember the name of this, but I can tell you how to get there. In Los Angeles, one of the greatest tiki bars I've ever been to. If you get on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood and drive until you're leaving Hollywood, getting into the dicier part of town, there's a tiki bar on the left, and it is the most wonderful tiki bar I've ever been to. They must have several thousand kitschy little things on shelves all over the bar, and it's just wonderful. The drink menu is fantastic. It's great. So
there's a new one I feel I'm going to mention because they just opened up in Dallas. It's called Swizzle,
Swizzle.
and they, the the Dole Whips you get at Disneyland. Mm-hmm. They do a homemade one that was just, it was a cold day. It was like 40 degrees in Dallas, and I was like, I'm like, can I have another for the road?
Yeah.
You were there, yes.
It was amazing.
It was amazing,
Yeah.
and we were trying to put her in Jen and Marty are the owners, and we were trying to put them in a headlock to find out what their recipe was, and they just would not give it up. But it was by far the best Dole Whip. But may I say, it's even better with a little bit of Plantation OFTD rum. But that's just one guy's opinion.
Ian, excuse me. Did you have a favorite rum today? Not counting the cognac.
Well, my favorite rum couldn't be a cognac,
Right.
although the cognac was pretty
The
amazing.
cognac was amazing. We'll set that aside. What rum did you like the best?
So, I don't know what's going on here. So, rum-wise, I really, really enjoy the funkier rums.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, not the first Jamaican
Second one, the
rum,
Jamaican one.
Second Jamaican rum is probably my favorite out of them. I like the funk.
For me, I think it's a tie between this last one and the very first one, the one that you did with the Houston Bourbon Society.
Do y'all notice the Ian automatically flocked to the most expensive one?
Yes. Well, he's got expensive taste.
Was it expensive? Was that the $150?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, that's sold exclusively at Specs.
But they're all just fantastic.
takes
Now,
all my money.
how is there a way when I'm shopping the shelves for Plantation rums? Is there a way to know which ones are the more limited ones if I'm out of specs and they've got? Because I know like the pineapple, the Isle of Fiji, those are things that are there regularly. Your dark rum is there regularly. Is there a way that I can look and tell? Oh, this is a limited one. I should get this now.
our fans, Plantation Nation. Oh, that's a good one there.
I like that. I like that.
Plantation
Is
Nation.
there a way to know by the bottle?
They call these the black casks.
Okay.
The black, yeah, the black
ones
labels.
with the black labels on them.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So anytime you see the single cask, and next time I roll through, I'll bring some of our vintages, and we have more like tiki shirt packaging. I want to call it there.
I
It's
love
just it's a lot like the Isle of Fiji, but
That's great packaging.
But you
by the
know,
way.
like Isle of Fiji, like you're just wearing like a tiki shirt. This is wearing a full-blown tiki leisure suit. Okay, that's how some of our vintages are
good.
going to look.
That's
So,
awesome.
and we do currently have the Peru. Fiji. The Fiji 2000. She's like, what are you looking at me for? The Fiji 2005. That one is currently available in Houston. I saw a ton of it over at Lee's Liquor over Navigation. So that one's super rare. We only got like 23 six-packs of it, and that's typical for any of the vintages. But anytime you see the black labels, know that it's a one-shot deal. You'll
one-shot
never
deal.
see it
Okay,
again.
good.
And that's when you see my library at home. That's what.
Yeah,
you know.
that's exactly what I was asking. So that's good. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. Bex, thank you for being here. I hope we were, easy on you for your first podcast experience.
Yes, it was so fun.
Oh, okay, good. Well, so the next time you come back, you'll have to come back
By
without
myself.
Doc, so that there'll be room for you to say some stuff. And but seriously, we love having you guys on. It's always a pleasure for us. These are always shows that we really look forward to, and I'm pretty psyched. We'll do this again when you get your next stuff.
Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right. So, Ian, we have some interesting weeks in front of us.
I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, including the return of our resident tequila expert, Liliana,
That's going to be
who will
so
be coming back for the show before Cinco de Mayo, and we will be doing a tequila blind taste test with Liliana. So, prepare to be driven home by someone that day.
Noted.
So,
An Uber day.
so it should be fun. But a lot of good things coming up, and we'll be telling you more about it in the weeks to come. Thank you guys again for being here. Thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel, and people have a wonderful week. If things are beginning to open up where you are, please continue to be careful. But I can't wait till we can lock arms in the dive bar again and sing songs we have no business singing all together. Have a great week, my friends. Cheers.
Cheers.
Something.
Cheers, y'all.